Here on the board, I have several examples. So looking at these examples, just little variation, and I make sure this follows in order. So what you have learned here, you may use it here, and that is how it goes to the end of these examples. I also have some other aspects. So, but this should be the foundation. Then maybe the next video will do that for you. Now, look at all these examples. Here we said, make X subject of the following formulae. Either formulae or formulas, they are the same. Now, if X plus K equals to V, make X subject. It means we have to remove this K from here so that we have only X in one side. Then K, V, any other letters will be in the other side. So now, rule number one. When we want to make X subject, right? And a letter is added to X. So to remove this K from X so that you have only X here, K is added. Opposite of addition is what? Subtraction. It means for you to remove this K, you have to subtract K from this side. You take it from, and you know, when you take it from one side and you don't take it from the other side, it means you have done ojoro. So that is not a justice. So you have to make sure that you take it from both sides. If a letter is subtracted from K, from this X, opposite of subtraction is what? Addition. It means you are going to add the same letter to both sides. So now let's start with the first example. Here we have X plus K equals V. And we want to make letter X subject of this formula. And now K is added to X. What are we going to do now? Opposite of addition is subtraction. It means we are going to subtract K from both sides. So now you have X, you know, plus K, abi? So now take K from this, then equals to V minus K. Now K minus K, this will be 0. What is left now? We have X. S equals to what? V minus K. And that is just the solution to this question. So now we make X subject. Now let's move to the next one. We have a Y equals R minus X. Number 2, Y equals to what? R minus X. Want to make X subject, and you know the rules. You make sure you take anything that is attached or that is very close to X. You move them to one side so that X will be in the other side. Now, this R is added to negative X. Our X here is negative, and R is added to it. Now, the first thing to do now, since R is added to X, we have to first take R from both sides. So now you subtract R from both sides. So we do that. Y minus R equals to R minus X. Now we subtracted R from both sides. So we minus R, just like the first example. Now R minus R will be 0. So now we have Y minus R equals to negative X. We want to make X subject, but what we have here is negative X. So once you have negative of that letter, what you just need to do, multiply both sides by negative sign, because we need X, not negative X. So because of that, you multiply both sides by negative sign. So now we have minus Y minus R equals to, when you multiply negative sign by negative sign, you will get positive, so that becomes X. So now, meaning we just transfer the negative sign to this side, but when you are transferring, you make sure that you multiply both sides by negative sign. So meaning the negative sign will now affect everything in the other side. So when you multiply this side by X negatives, you get a positive X. So now our X equals to, so you can rewrite it as a X equals to negative Y minus R. And if you want to simplify this further, you can open your bracket with negative sign, so that negative multiplied by y, you get negative y, negative multiplied by this, that is plus r. Then it means your x equals to negative y plus r. Or you write it as what? R minus y. If you want to rearrange, r is positive, so this is positive r. Y is negative, this is negative y. Or let me just use equal. So this is just how to make x subject in the second example. Let's move to the next one. Now look at this third example here. We have x divided by y minus r equals to t. How do we make x subject here? This is very simple. You know the rules. When you want to make a letter subject, you make sure you remove anything that is attached. Now, y is attached to this x. R is also attached to this. So we have two letters. Now you are going to we have the order in which we remove letter that is attached to the letter you want to remove. You want to make subject now. So you first consider the number that is added or subtracted from before you think of the one that is joined to it either by division or by multiplication. Now here we have to remove this r. So once we remove r, then we remove letter y. So now let's start. Let's go together. So we have the third question, x minus y minus r equals to t. Since we know that we are going to remove r before y, the order of the order in which we remove the letter from the one we want to make a subject, you consider the one that is added or subtracted from before you think of the one that is joined to it either by division or by multiplication. Now because of this, now this r, want to remove this r. This r is negative. Opposite, you are taking r from, opposite will be you add r to both sides. So you have x over y minus r. Now we add r because r is taken here, is added, we subtract. So now here, subtracted, now we add. So plus r equals to t plus r. So these two will give us 0. So now we have x over y equals to what? T plus r. But we want to remove this y. You know, y is, we divide x by what? By y. Now, opposite of division is what? Is multiplication. So because of that now, once you multiply this x over y by y, this y will disappear. Because of that, you are not going to do it to one side, just like in case of addition, but to both sides. So now we are going to multiply both sides by letter y. So now we have x over y multiplied by y equals to t plus r multiplied by what? Y. So please don't just write like this, because this y want to multiply by everything in this side. So once you write like this, it means you are multiplying just only by what? By r. So you close your bracket. So this 2 is gone. What is left? X equals to t plus r bracket what? Y. You can write your y in front here. If you like, you can keep it at the back. So this is, it means now we make x subject. S equals to what? Y open bracket t plus r. Now let's consider the next one. Here, m is joined to negative xy. M is joined to x. Y is also joined. Then we have L separate. Now just like this example, we are going to use the same, we are going to answer this the same way. So we make sure we first remove m that is joined by addition. Then we remove y that is joined by multiplication, and that is how we remove the two letters. So I will remove this again. Now the fourth question, we have m minus xy equals L. Now, the order of the order in which we are going to remove all those letters that are attached to x. Now, the first thing is this m is added, so you have to subtract m. The m is added, so now you say subtract m from both sides. So m minus xy equals to L minus m. Now these two will give us what? 0. Now we have negative xy equals L minus m. Now what else do we need to do? We want to make x subject. We need to remove both y and negative sign. Since these two are multiply, they are joined to x by multiplication sign. Opposite of multiplication is division. So you have to divide both sides by negative y. So that once you divide both sides by negative y, you have what? X. So now we say divide both sides by negative, so you have negative xy divided by negative y equals L minus m divided by what? Negative y. Now the negative sign divide negative sign, negative divided by negative, that is positive. Y we remove y. What is left? X equals. Now this is divided by this, but you don't keep negative sign and with the denominator. So you bring your negative sign, so you have L minus m over what? Over y. And this is your result. But if you want to further simplify this, you can just open the bracket with this negative sign. And when you do that, you have x equals negative multiplied by L, that is negative L. Negative multiplied by negative m, that is plus m over what? Over y. So you rewrite when you rearrange this so that the positive number come before the negative. So you have a m minus n over y. So that is another case. So the first case, added, subtracted, division, joined by multiplication. Now here, look at this order, the fifth example here. We have x in two different places. X in two different places. Now, to make x subject here, you have to first bring x together. Those places where you have x, you collect the like terms. You bring them together. Those ones without x, let them be in one side of the equality sign. That is, where this is your equality sign coming. Now, you have your equality sign. You ensure that those with x will be in one side, those without x will be in the other side. And you will still follow that order. The one that is added or subtracted, you first remove them before you consider those ones that are joined to x by either multiplication or division. Now, we have Rx equals Rx minus t equals to Yx. You can see this one has what? X. This also has what? X. Now, to remove t from this side, you can just say, okay, let me add t to both sides. So by the time you add t to this and you add t to this, you will have, this, you add letter t to this one, you also add letter t to this. This 2t will give us 0. So you have Rx equals to Yx plus t when you add t to both sides. Now, also, since we want to make sure that those one with x are together, in order to remove this, you have to subtract from both sides. So now, you subtract Yx from both sides minus Yx. By the time you subtract from both sides, you have Rx minus Yx. This minus this. This minus this will give us 0. So you are left with what? Letter t. Now we can see now that we have those with x in one side without x in the other side. Now your x is here, your x is here, so you can factorize out your x. So you take out x. When you divide this by x, what do you have? R. Divide this by x, what do you have? Y. Or once you remove x from these two, you are left with just r minus this, and this is x outside. Then this equals to what? T. Now to make x subject now, this is very simple. We have x and something joined to x by multiplication. Opposite of multiplication is what? Division. Just divide both sides by what? R minus y. So you divide both sides by this. So you have x open bracket r minus y equals to t divided by r minus y divided by r minus y. So this r minus y, we go, we have x equal t divided by what? R minus y. And that is just the end of this question too. That's just the end of this question too. So you can see now that we only do what? We ensure that we move those with x. We have x in more than one place. More than one place. Yes. So now we have to move them together. But how do we move them together? You have something attached here. So move this to one side first. Then you bring back your x. Ordinarily, if you don't want to, if you want to skip steps, I also have those. We understand those methods, but let's use the normal procedure. So later we may just explain that. Now here's another question again. We have a x squared r minus x squared k equals to m. Make x subject. The only difference between this question and this is that we have power here. We have power, x acts power. So now here we want to learn the normal way we know. Then how do we solve make x subject when there is power attached to x, when x has an index or it has degree, either power or index or degree. We are still referring to the same thing. Okay, now question number 6. We have a x squared r minus x squared k equals m. In this question, we want to learn two different things. How to factorize, which is similar to the previous example. Then how do we solve problem when, how do we make x subject when there is a power? First thing, since we have x in one side without x in the other side, so one of the problem is partially solved. So now what we need to do now is to factorize out x squared. So take out x squared, open the bracket. When you divide this by x squared, you have r. Divide this by x squared, you have what? K. Close your bracket equals to what? M. Now, we have two things attached to x. R minus k is attached to x. We also have square, power. So now the order is this. You first remove something that, anything that is joined to x by multiplication before you consider the power. Now, so we divide both sides by r minus, so we have x squared bracket r minus k equals to m. So now divide by r minus k. R minus k. So this 2 is gone. So they are gone now. So we have what? R s squared equals to m divided by r minus k. Now we can see now that we're able to remove r minus k from x. So now what's left to remove now is what? Is this power. So now, and that is when you know the power here is 2. So once you don't have anything here, the power here is 1. Ordinarily, I can just say take the square root of both sides. But not all the time you take the square root. When the power is 2, what of when the power is fraction? What we normally are advised to do is you remove, if you want to remove this power now, you just transfer the reciprocal of this number to the other side, and you don't have this again. Now, what's reciprocal of 2? Reciprocal of 2 is 1 over 2. If the power here is, suppose you have x raised to power 3 over 2 equals to k, for example, and you want to make s subject. What's reciprocal of 3 over 2? Reciprocal of 3 over 2 will be 2 over 3, meaning your s will just be k raised to power 2 over 3. Not sure. So here also now, the x squared equals to this. What's the reciprocal of 2? The reciprocal of 2 is 1 over 2. So you have x equals to m divided by r minus k, everything raised to power reciprocal of 2, which is 1 over 2. And this is a subject of formulae. So this 1 over 2 is something like square root of m divided by r minus k. So when it is square root, when it is 1 over 2, that is square root. When it is 1 over 3, that is cube root. And in that order. So let's check the next one. Let's consider the last example here. We have t divided by m equals to 2 pi square root of x over t. Square root of x divided by t. Now look at this example. Unlike all the previous examples, we can see that our x is inside the square root. So now for this type of equation, what you need to do first is to remove the square root. You remove the square. How do we remove square root? You know, this 1 over, this is same thing as this power of 1 over 2. So when you want to remove square root, you square both sides. You square both sides. So now let's square both sides. So we have t divided by m, everything what? Square, equals to 2 pi x over l, everything what? Square. Now, all what you have inside the square root will be affected by this square. As for this side, same with this side. Now, this becomes t squared divided by m squared equals, now, since square will affect everything here, so square of 2 is what? 4. Square of pi, that is pi square. Now, the square will remove the square root. It will cancel out the square root because square root is in raised power of half. So these two will remove that. You know, you have something raised power half. Then you are still multiplying this power by 2 again. So these two will go. So that is how the square will cancel out the square root. So we have open bracket x divided by l. Now we want to make x subject as usual. We have things attached to it now. This is attached by division. This is attached by multiplication. You can start with division. If you like, you can start with a multiplication. Anyone you like. So now, if we are going by multiplication, we want to remove this one. This is attached to it by multiplication, so we have to divide both sides. So you divide both sides by what? 4 pi. So now you have t squared divided by m, or let me just write 4 pi squared, then m squared. We divide both sides. So when you divide here by 4 pi, you have this 4 pi squared. When you divide this one will go. So now you have just x over l. Now to remove l, multiply both sides by l. When you multiply both sides by l again, so you are multiplying everything here by l. So you have l t squared divided by 4 pi square m squared equals x over l divided by l. So that's how l is gone. And so you have your s equals to this.